Now, this unequal sharing, once again, creates these partial charges. And when we say partial charges, it just means that oxygen becomes partially negative and hydrogen becomes partially positive. Because remember, oxygen is pulling more on these electrons. It wants to have those electrons around them. And hydrogen is like, it's fine. I can survive without it. We're going to share it. You can keep it most of the time. But they share it unequally, meaning the electrons are surrounding oxygen and not surrounding hydrogen. But because they're sharing the electrons, they do form a covalent bond between each other. And it's important to know that it is not a full positive and a full negative charge. It has partial charges. Hydrogen bonds form between these different water molecules. Because of the positive hydrogen and this partially negative oxygen, they form these hydrogen bonds between them. There is a attraction between them. It's very important that you can see that the slightly partial positive charge is attracted to the slightly partial negative charge, and they form hydrogen bonds. Okay, but there is a very important distinction. So covalent bonds are inside one more water molecule. So let me give that a different color. So the covalent bonds are between the atoms of the molecule, and hydrogen bonds are between the water molecules themselves. So I want to encourage you to look at this model and kind of pause the video and just identify the different parts. One, polar covalent bond. This is a covalent bond. Remember, the covalent bond is between the atoms of the molecule itself. A partially negative oxygen. So all of these would be partially negative because of the unequal electron sharing between the hydrogen and the oxygen. And then finally, a partially positive hydrogen. These are partially positive because they are sharing their electrons unequally with oxygen. And then finally, a hydrogen bond between the water molecules. This is the hydrogen bond. And it's a very weak bond, but it is because of this partially positive and partially negative charges that are interacting with each other. This is the essential knowledge for this lesson. So water has polar covalent bonds between the oxygen and hydrogen, and it's polar because the electrons are shared unequally between them. And because this unequal sharing of the electrons, it creates a slight negative or partial negative charge and partial positive charges. Because it has those partial charges, it forms hydrogen bonds between itself. Water itself forms hydrogen bonds between itself and also other molecules that are polar. And this is, yeah, so it also interacts with other polar biological molecules. So if this is a biological molecule, the negative partial charge will interact with the hydrogen, and this positive part will interact with this partially negative oxygen. So we would say that this molecule is hydrophilic because it interacts with water. But we'll get to that in the next lesson. If you enjoyed that video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and can join us on the Skool.com community page where you'll find AP Bio blueprints. And if you take a look inside, you will see that Unit 1 is completely free. See you all there.